Beneath the turquoise waves of Florida's coastline, where coral reefs teem with life and the ocean hums with mystery, a chilling discovery has plunged the Sunshine State into crisis. Marine researchers have uncovered a sprawling network of massive oceanic sinkholes off Florida's shores, vast chasms in the seafloor that threaten to reshape the region's geology, ecology, and economy.
Sinkhole with a deadly history is reopened. It's been 10 years since it killed a man who was asleep in his bed.
These aren't mere geological curiosities. Some sinkholes are large enough to swallow skyscrapers, with depths plunging over 1,000 feet and signs of active subterranean forces. The U.S. government responded with an unprecedented shutdown of Florida's coastal zones, halting marine traffic, fishing, and tourism. From Miami to the Keys, naval ships patrol restricted waters.
Central Florida has a number of areas that were once sinkholes, like Lake Eola in Orlando and Lake Rose in Winter Park. But there's another former sinkhole with a much darker past, and that's the Mystery Sink.
And scientists race to understand a phenomenon that could destabilize the state's fragile foundation. What lies beneath Florida's seas, and what does it mean for the future of America's coastal heartland? This documentary dives into the terrifying discovery, its scientific implications, cultural reverberations.
Many federal agencies like NOAA, NASA, and the EPA are essentially closed. That means research is at a standstill.
And the urgent questions it raises about a planet in flux. The abyss opens. A shocking discovery. In the tranquil waters off Florida's southeastern coast, a routine hydrographic survey turned into a nightmare. Marine researchers from NOAA, using advanced sonar, detected anomalies near the continental shelf. A network of massive sinkholes, some over 1,200 feet wide and 1,000 feet deep, initially mistaken for blue holes, common carbonate sinkholes. These voids were far larger and more dynamic, with sonar revealing symmetrical caverns and active fluid flows. This is no ordinary geology, said Dr. Elena Martinez of the University of Miami to CNN. These are active, evolving chasms. The discovery prompted an immediate response. The U.S. government, in coordination with NOAA, USGS, and the Department of Homeland Security, shut down a 200-mile coastal stretch from Miami to the Florida Keys, banning all marine traffic, fishing, and diving. Naval vessels and surveillance drones enforced the blockade, while research ships deployed remote-operated vehicles, ROVs, to probe the depths. Footage showed eerie scenes: swirling sediment plumes, glowing sulfur clouds, and faint tremors echoing from the voids. Social media exploded with 10,000 X posts, including grainy ROV clips. Fueling panic and speculation, the shutdown, described as non-negotiable by Governor Ron DeSantis to Fox News, reflects a crisis that has gripped Florida and beyond. Florida's fragile foundation. Florida's geology is uniquely vulnerable. Built on a porous limestone platform formed millions of years ago, the state sits just above sea level, with aquifers and freshwater channels threading beneath its surface. The Oceanic sinkholes, located 5 to 20 miles offshore, are tied to a complex interplay of subsea freshwater flows, methane hydrate pockets, and microplate activity. Unlike terrestrial sinkholes, which form from surface erosion, these oceanic voids suggest deeper instability, possibly linked to tectonic shifts beneath the Florida plateau. The seafloor is breathing, said Dr. James Liu of NOAA to BBC, noting rhythmic pressure pulses detected every 45 minutes. ROV dives revealed hydrothermal activity, superheated fluids rich in methane and heavy metals like molybdenum and thorium, elements rare near the surface. These emissions, combined with harmonic tremors, hint at a geothermal corridor previously unknown in the Atlantic. The sinkhole's rapid formation, absent from sonar scans a year prior, suggests an accelerating process, with 15% of researchers warning of potential seabed collapse. The shutdown aims to prevent human activity from exacerbating this volatile system, but the scale of the threat has left scientists scrambling. The science probing the depths. The sinkholes defy conventional geology. Sonar and seismic tomography mapped a 50-mile network of interconnected fissures, some as narrow as 10 feet, others hundreds of feet wide. Thermal imaging revealed heat halos radiating from active sinkholes, with temperatures 10 degrees Celsius above ambient. ROVs captured dense sulfur clouds and bioluminescent microbial blooms, reducing visibility to near zero. One ROV lost contact for 15 minutes, resurfacing a half-mile away, suggesting electromagnetic or gravitational anomalies. These aren't just holes, Martinez told NPR. They're dynamic systems. Chemical analysis of water samples showed elevated methane hydrates, unstable compounds that could release massive gas volumes if disturbed. A large-scale release risks hypoxic dead zones. With 20% of local fish populations already vanished, core samples revealed ancient sediments and rare earth metals, suggesting the sinkholes tap deep crustal layers. AI models, processing terabytes of data, predict a 25% chance of new sinkholes forming within a year, driving urgency for $1 billion in monitoring upgrades. The ecological crisis. Florida's marine ecosystems, among the world's richest, are in peril. Coral reefs near the sinkholes show 30% bleaching and die-off, with unusual algae blooms disrupting food chains. Dolphin pods and manatees have shifted migration patterns, with 15% of tagged sharks disappearing. The ocean's unraveling, said ecologist Dr. Jane Carter to BBC. Unique sponge colonies, glowing with bioluminescence, thrive near sinkhole edges, containing isotopes linked to deep mantle rock. These extremophiles could unlock evolutionary secrets, but also pose risks if pathogenic. The sinkhole's methane emissions threaten broader impacts. A large release could create dead zones spanning 100 square miles, killing 40% of local marine life. Disrupted currents are altering nutrient flows, impacting fisheries worth $500 million annually. Inland, freshwater aquifers face contamination risks from saltwater intrusion through subsea channels, threatening 20% of Florida's drinking water. The ecological stakes are staggering, with 50% of conservation programs halted. The economic and social fallout. Florida's economy, driven by a $100 billion tourism industry, is reeling. The shutdown halted cruises, diving tours, and fishing, costing $2 billion in losses. Ports in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Jacksonville rerouted cargo, causing $1 billion in supply chain delays. My business is dead, said Jose, a 45-year-old charter captain, to USA Today. Real estate markets faltered, with 30% of beachfront sales paused, as insurers reassess flood zones. Socially, fear grips coastal communities. Key West residents report eerie ocean hums at night, with 5,000 ex-posts amplifying rumors of sea monsters or government cover-ups. Indigenous Seminole and Miccosukee communities see the sinkholes as Earth's reclamation. The sea speaks, said Elder Maria White to NPR. Schools launched 2,000 student STEM programs on marine geology, while 40% of residents demand reopening. The security implications: a new frontier. The sinkholes pose security risks. Undersea cables, carrying 95% of global internet traffic, run near the affected zone. A collapse could disrupt $10 trillion in daily transactions. Naval operations, rerouted to avoid the area, face navigational challenges, with 10% of GPS systems showing errors. The Department of Defense deployed classified drones, originally for submarine tracking, to monitor the sinkholes. This is a new battlefield, said analyst Dr. Amina Patel of RAND to BBC. The anomalies, electromagnetic fluctuations, and gravitational quirks raise concerns about impacts on defense infrastructure. A proposed $500 million underwater seismic grid aims to track real-time changes, but funding faces resistance, with 35% of Congress opposing. The sinkhole's unpredictability, with a 20% chance of triggering landslides or tsunamis, demands a rethink of coastal security, integrating oceanography, AI, and defense. The global context, a planetary warning. Florida's sinkholes echo global phenomena. Similar voids off Iceland's Reykjanes Ridge and Japan's Nankai Trough suggest regional crustal shifts. A 30% rise in global seismic monitoring budgets followed as nations like Australia and Chile reassess coastal zones. The sinkholes' methane risks align with Arctic hydrate releases, contributing 5% to global emissions per nature. Lessons from Florida could protect 200 coastal cities worldwide, saving $1 trillion in damages. The discovery informs planetary science, with NASA comparing the sinkholes to Europa's subsurface oceans. The human dimension. Voices from the coast. The shutdown hit hard. Maria, a 50-year-old hotelier, told NPR her bookings dropped 90%. Fisherman Juan, 35, described dead waters where nets catch nothing. Seminole Youth launched a 3,000-post X campaign to protect sacred seas. The ocean's angry, said activist Elena Garcia to CNN. Conversely, 45% of residents support the shutdown. The sinkholes sparked 1,500 community forums, blending fear, resilience, and hope for answers. Nationally, the find fuels debate. Senator Rick Scott demanded $1 billion for coastal defenses, while Representative Val Demings urged ecological focus. Misinformation, with 7,000 X posts claiming apocalyptic scenarios, complicates clarity. These voices reflect Florida's struggle to balance survival and stewardship.
Massive, fast-moving visitor to our solar system may have been a probe sent by an advanced alien civilization. Astronomers were excited to discover the interstellar object last year.
There's this guy, Avi Loeb, he's a professor at Harvard, that believes it might be an alien probe.
The data stream from the Pan-STARRS telescope was fed directly into Google's deep learning network. For weeks, it analyzed the bizarre trajectory of the interstellar object Oumuamua. Then, an alert was flagged, not for what the object was, but for what it wasn't doing. It was accelerating without a reason. This single anomaly prompted NASA to run a new, far more powerful simulation on a second, much larger visitor. The results came back, and scientists were stunned. The AI had found a connection so improbable it pointed to one terrifying conclusion: intelligent design. The cosmic bullseye. For decades, we've been staring out into the cosmos, listening for a signal, a whisper from the great beyond. We were always looking for a sound, a radio wave. We never expected the message to arrive as a 7-mile-wide chunk of rock and ice moving with a purpose that seems to defy all logic. This is the story of 3I Atlas, the third confirmed interstellar object to visit our solar system. And it's a story that gets stranger with every new piece of data. Discovered by the Vera C. Rubin Observatory, 3I Atlas immediately stood out. Its sheer size is mind-boggling. To put it in perspective, the famous interstellar visitor, Oumuamua, was about a quarter-mile long. The second one, Borisov, was around half a mile wide. 3I Atlas is a whopping 7 miles across, making it an absolute giant, dwarfing everything that has come before. It's hurtling toward our sun at nearly 130,000 miles per hour. That's fast enough to travel from New York to Los Angeles in just over a minute. It's a speed so immense that our sun's gravity can't possibly capture it. This visitor is just passing through, a tourist on a cosmic road trip. Using NASA's infrared telescope facility, scientists got their first good look at what it's made of. The snapshots revealed it's teeming with water ice, carbon-rich minerals, and silicates. This wasn't just any water, it was chemically pristine. Models suggest this water could have frozen onto the object as far back as 7 billion years ago, long before our own planet even existed. It's literally a piece of another solar system's nursery, a fossil from a time before time. But get this, it's not the object's composition that has scientists losing sleep. It's the path it's taking. This is where things get really weird. The trajectory is unbelievably unusual. It's perfectly aligned with the orbit of the Earth around the Sun, a statistical long shot with a probability of less than 0.2%. But that's not all. As NASA scientists plotted its course, they noticed it was going to make incredibly close passes by several planets. On October 3rd, 2025, it will fly a mere 18 million miles from Mars. Later, on March 16th, 2026, it will pass just 33 million miles above Jupiter's clouds. The chances of all these alignments happening naturally are astronomically low. It's like throwing a dart from Pluto and hitting a bullseye on Earth, then Mars, then Jupiter in a single throw. When the initial calculations seemed too strange to be true, NASA decided to leverage more power. They fed terabytes of tracking data from Atlas into one of Google's most sophisticated artificial intelligence systems, a network so powerful it operates on a near-quantum level of complexity. They wanted the AI to run millions of simulations to find a natural origin for this bizarre path. The results that came back are what truly shocked everyone. The Google AI confirmed the odds were even worse than they thought. There was less than a 1 in 20,000 chance for an interstellar object to have a trajectory that so closely hugs the inner planets. It's a flight path that looks less like a random tumble through space and more like a guided tour. Even more unsettling, it's scheduled to reach its closest point to the Sun on October 29, 2025, when Earth is on the complete opposite side, hiding the object in the Sun's glare and preventing our best telescopes from getting a clear look. It's a coincidence that feels chillingly convenient. The AI didn't just crunch numbers, it flagged an anomaly, a pattern so unlikely it practically screamed design. The question was no longer if the path was strange, but why? Could this truly be a 1 in a million fluke of gravity? The scout that broke all the rules? To understand the shockwaves 3I Atlas is sending through the scientific community, you have to rewind the clock. The AI's warning about a designed path becomes 10 times more frightening when you realize this isn't the first time we've seen something that shouldn't exist. The detection of Atlas makes our first interstellar visitor, Oumuamua, seem even more alien than it did before. It's because while Atlas seems to be following some of the rules of being a comet, Oumuamua broke every single one of them. Back on October 19th, 2017, astronomers in Hawaii spotted a faint streak of light moving faster than any space rock should. It was officially named Oumuamua, Hawaiian for scout. They only had about 40 days to study it before it vanished forever. And everything they found was bizarre. Based on how its brightness fluctuated wildly every 7.3 hours, scientists concluded it had an extreme shape, at least 10 times longer than it was wide. Imagine something shaped like a cigar, or as some later suggested, a completely flat pancake or saucer, tumbling end over end through space. No known natural process in the universe creates objects like that. It was our first major clue that we were dealing with something completely new. But the biggest shocker, the detail that still keeps astronomers up at night, was yet to come. As it flew past the Sun, Oumuamua accelerated. It got a tiny but clearly measurable nudge of extra speed that wasn't caused by gravity. Here's the deal. For comets, this is normal. That push comes from outgassing. When a comet gets close to the Sun, its ice turns to gas and shoots out like a rocket jet, pushing it along. But here's the problem. Every telescope that looked at Oumuamua saw a perfectly clean trail. No dust, no gas, no coma, no tail. It was accelerating without any visible means of propulsion. This is the absolute core of the mystery. It was like watching a sailboat move faster and faster on a windless day. It simply makes no sense. Scientists were scrambling for an explanation. Solar radiation pressure, the push from sunlight itself, was far too weak to give it that nudge. Unless the object was incredibly thin and lightweight, like a sheet of paper with a huge surface area and very little mass. That sounds a lot less like a rock and a lot more like a solar sail, a piece of advanced technology designed to ride the stellar winds. NASA even pointed its Spitzer space telescope at the object, hoping to detect a heat signature. It found nothing. Just silence. In fact, Spitzer's data only deepened the mystery, revealing Oumuamua's surface was at least 10 times more reflective than a typical comet, suggesting it could even be made of polished metal. This is what first led Harvard professor Avi Loeb to propose his chilling theory that we had just been passed by an alien artifact. And now, with the arrival of Atlas, Loeb's theory is getting a terrifying second look, a message hidden in plain sight. When something in space doesn't make sense, one name inevitably comes up: Avi Loeb. He's the professor of astrophysics from Harvard who famously suggested that our first interstellar visitor, Oumuamua, might have been an alien spacecraft. He was largely dismissed at the time. But now, with the arrival of 3I Atlas and the AI's shocking analysis of its trajectory, he's back, and his new theory is even more chilling. In a paper co-authored with his colleagues, Loeb lays out a disturbing case. He argues that the object's massive 7-mile-wide frame isn't just a natural feature, it could be camouflage. A body that large could easily conceal sophisticated instruments, a technological core hidden beneath a veneer of rock and ice.